Our next guest is one of America's top 30 under 30, and he's here with some steps for success. Please welcome Anthony Manzon.
All right, we're live with Anthony Manzon. What's up, my friend?
Derek, thank you for having me again.
Jacket is fresh.
Thank you, thank you. It's my favorite one.
Out freshen me every time, brother.
Check out those polka dots in the middle. Can you guys see that? That's the best part about it, right?
Nice. So first of all, congrats on top 30 under 30.
Thank you.
Huge deal. Because, I mean, just to even have the opportunity to be nominated for something like that is a big, big deal. And then to get it is awesome. I think that real estate is one of those businesses it's perfect for, if you're an entrepreneur, it's a perfect business because it's one of those businesses where there's so much opportunity. It's really up to you. But that's also why so many people fail at it, because it's really up to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of people need to be told what to do or they need to be managed. And so it's not for people like that. You've brought today your 3 principles of success, and I'm sure this ties directly into what you do with your real estate practice.
Yep.
So, I mean, when you got started, just a little background, I remember the story. You know, you had to pay for a wedding. You were getting married. So you had that motivation. You think that was the right way to start in the business?
Yeah, I mean, and anything you start with in the business, for me personally, the wedding was the big why. So, you know, we took all of our wedding savings and we put it towards our business, basically. And if we didn't succeed in our business, we wouldn't have a wedding. We sent out the invitations early before we even spent all the money, so we couldn't exactly go back and tell everybody, hey, no more wedding anymore. We didn't make it in real estate. It was succeed or no wedding. And you have to have a big why associated with why you work every day, your reasons for success, in order to really push through your ceiling of achievement and get to the next level.
Yeah, so you started off right away extremely motivated.
Yep.
But maintaining that, I mean, a lot of people can get motivated for an event or for a month or something until they hit a big roadblock. Or while things are easy, let's say, the business is easy, everybody's getting business everywhere. They don't have to work as hard for it. But these principles for success are about maintaining long-term success. And not just in real estate, but just in whatever you're doing, right?
Anything. Yeah, I mean, success, a bold law we say success is simple, not easy. So, I mean, everybody knows what you have to do to be successful. Everybody knows what you have to do to lose weight. Eat less, work out. Everybody knows that, and yet why is it so hard that people can't do that, you know? So should we just jump right into it?
Let's do it, dude. Yeah.
All right, here's my first one. My very first success principle, in order to be successful, this is my favorite one, to be honest. I chose this first because it's my favorite. It's a bold law, and it's your business grows to the extent that you do. Let that sink in. Your business grows to the extent that you do.
Your personal growth?
Your business growth, personal growth, whatever kind of growth you need to go through in order to become successful. So the way I like to explain it is, let's say, for instance, your goal, if you're a salesperson, your goal is to sell 20 houses in 1 year. Or let's say you want to make $100,000. You can't make $100,000 with the mindset of somebody that makes $50,000. You can't make $100,000 with the habits of someone who makes $50,000. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So what I say is, when you break it down, you have to have the mindset, the skills, and the habit of someone who has the goal that you want to achieve in order to have those results. So if you want to make $100,000, you have to have the mindset of someone who makes $100,000. You have to have the skills of someone who makes $100,000, and you have to have the habits of someone who makes $100,000 in order to go make that happen. You don't just accidentally trip over something and then hit your goal. Otherwise, it's not really a real goal. You have to encompass the embodiment of what that goal is to you and someone who's doing that in order to achieve those results.
I like that because it's a more dynamic answer than you typically get when someone says, you know, is backing out the math. Well, I need to make, if I make 200 calls a day, I make 200,000. So if I make 300 calls a day, I'll make 300,000. But there's only so much time. So what you're saying is there might be a paradigm shift in the way that you need to think about the way you're going about things.
Yeah, it's like those 3 different things. It's like one of them, like I said, is skills. So you can make 300 calls a day, and yet if your skills are at the level of someone who's a beginner, but you're making all these calls, yes, it's going to help you, and yet you won't get to your goal until you can really get to the level of someone who's making that kind of money or whatever kind of goal you're trying to hit, whether it's sales or transactions.
Do you think that is about picking a mentor or something? Like how do you change your mindset if you don't know anything else other than what you already do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's all about how you grow. So it's going to classes, going to trainings, going to masterminds. Pick someone that you look up to. So for me, I look up to Tom Ferry. He's a great one in real estate. Diana Kokoska, she's one of my favorites. Pick someone who you look up to, who you love the success that they have, and become that person. Like, find out about their habits. What do they do every day? Most likely they're reading a lot. Most likely they wake up early. I don't really know any successful people that sleep in all the way till 12 o'clock in the afternoon, go out and party with their friends, and then wake up every day saying, I'm going to make this kind of money. You have to encompass those habits, the skills, and the mindset of that person in order to hit that goal.
Interesting.
And then when you want to get to the next level, you got to find out someone who's on that level and then raise your game to get to that level.
Just saying, mostly what I'm hearing is that it's about knowledge acquisition. It's about learning, being willing to learn, being open-minded, looking at what other people are doing, and just trying to absorb as much information as possible.
Yeah, and I would say, honestly, one of the most important things is learning and the habits. Habits are huge. Habits, whether it's having the discipline to sleep early because you have a big day the next day and you want to perform at your best. Having the habits to wake up 5 o'clock every morning so you can set yourself up for success by having breakfast, exercising. It's the habits and the discipline is really what builds character and will break through your ceiling of achievement. Because any one person could be talented, but everybody has a ceiling that they can't get through on their own. It's either you have to leverage it out and have somebody help you, or you have to change your mindset and develop better habits and disciplines that will get you to the next level.
You're 100% correct. I think everybody in sports knows that, that one person on the team who has all the talent in the world, they just kind of don't need to work as hard as everyone else, and therefore they don't. And eventually they'll slip off. Because you have to, regardless of what your talent is, at the end of the day, that it becomes a game of execution at some point. Maybe not when you were 10 years old, you were the biggest kid and you could play football and you could knock everyone around. But by the time you get to college, that doesn't matter anymore because everyone's as big as you. So it's more about, like you're saying, the habits, the things that you're doing, the rituals. How are you training yourself? How are you training your body? Whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. But those are the things you can instill early. And that really pay dividends over the long run.
Yeah, you can instill them early, or you can make the decision right now that I'm going to make a change. My goal next year is to, let's say, double your income for next year. So what kind of habits do you have to create in order to double your income? When I talk to other agents and they say, what, I've been stuck at 10 transactions a year, my income is stuck at this for the past 5 years, they say, what's wrong with me? It's like, there's nothing wrong with you. You just have the habits and the mindset of someone at that level. In order to get to the next level, you need new habits and you need a new mindset to get there.
That's awesome. That's great.
It's so cool when you just break it down to simplicity because it's just so logical. It makes so much sense, right?
It does. It makes so much sense. And for some people, they may not want necessarily to double their income. Maybe they want to make the same income and spend half as much time working because they have 3 kids and they want to coach t-ball and soccer or whatever. Everyone's goals might be different.
Yeah.
So you have to start there and then figure out, okay, well, what habits do I need? What mindset do I need to achieve this specific thing?
Yes,
and then go learn that is what you're saying.
Yep.
Tip number 1. Awesome stuff. All right, let's dive into number 2.
Number two is, this is a pretty common one we hear a lot, is surround yourself with high-level thinkers or people who are also hungry for success. So that kind of ties into number 1 when you think about it, because when you surround yourself with people who are high thinkers, who are hungry, what does that really do for you? That you pick up their habits, you pick up their mindset, you surround yourself with people like that, so you start to become like that. And when you surround yourself with people who are high thinkers and high achievers, you naturally start to bring yourself up as well. And also, it could be the reverse. If you hang out with people who don't have strong discipline or don't have big goals, it's going to bring you down because you're going to encompass their habits and their mindset and their discipline. So it's very easy. Let's say you're a big producer and you start hanging around with people who are a lot lower producers. You start taking in their mindset, their habits. You start to become more like them, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just if you want, this is all tips to get you to the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you want to get to the next level, surround yourself with those people who are thinking differently, acting differently, and have different discipline so that you can ultimately break through your ceiling of achievement.
Yeah, you'll sort of naturally gravitate towards those things, the people that you're hanging out with. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, we're not saying like ditch your friends. You know what I mean? That's not what it means. It's more like, hey, who are you talking to? who you're spending time with. It could be during the workday. Talk to some people who are successful at what you do as often as you can.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, talk to those people. Because what you can learn is you can learn how not to spend a whole year figuring out that that doesn't work.
Yeah. Seriously.
And that, you can save yourself that whole year when you talk to someone who's like, oh yeah, I did that, we tested this and this, and here's the thing you should be doing.
Exactly.
And you just go, bam, wow, all I had to do was sit down, ask for coffee with this guy, and now I got all this information. So that it goes back to knowledge acquisition and studying up, but but this is more relational now. Because it does happen. If I sit here and I have a meeting, if I have 3 meetings a day with people who are all, let's say, network television superstars.
Yeah.
How long do you think it takes before I become a network television superstar? You know what I mean?
Half the amount of time it would have taken if you tried to do it on your own.
Correct.
Seriously, that's it.
Or even quicker, maybe. So that right there is big, because I think one of the things that most people are hesitant about is even reaching out and asking. Like, for example, if you had an agent, a brand new agent or something who's seeing this, and they're like, man, I want to be like Anthony Manzon, they're afraid to reach out to you and say, hey, Anthony, would you have a coffee with me and give me a tip or help me, in some way? They're afraid to ask. And that's something I think if we could encourage people today to ask. You'd be shocked. You'd be shocked at how many people, people who are television personalities, radio personalities, producers, huge name CEOs, that we've been able to get in touch with, have sit-downs with. I don't want to call them out, but the CEO of WD-40, respond to a LinkedIn email.
Wow,
amazing. It's crazy. But because so many people think they're too busy, they won't respond, you can be the one person who doesn't think that way, who doesn't have that sort of restriction in your thought process. You think, you know what? I will reach out. Yeah,
and you have to be okay with no. Like, you have to be okay with rejection. I don't know anyone who's successful that didn't face rejection and push through it. In real estate, they always say, the more no's you get, the closer to yes you get. And sometimes it takes 20 no's to get to 1 yes, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that 1 yes could change your life, could change your mindset, could change everything. And all you need sometimes is just 1 yes. So, another thing, going back to your friends and family, it's like every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So, when I first started, it was no 99% of the time to my every 1 yes. Friends would say, hey, Anthony, want to come out to the bar and drink with us? Sorry, guys, I got to practice my scripts today so I can wake up early. Hey, do you want to come with us on the Saturday? We're going to the beach. Sorry, guys, I can't go. I'm going to be doing an open house. So in order to be successful, you're going to have to say no a lot, and you're going to have to say yes very few times. But eventually you start to notice that you get to start saying yes to more things. The more leverage you create, the more successful you become.
Yeah, there is definitely a period where you have to be willing to hunker down and really hone your craft.
Yeah.
And to mention, to backtrack just a little bit, you said that everyone faces some adversity, everyone who's successful. I would say, even more so, everyone who's been really successful has faced major adversity. Major adversity. I don't know anyone who just shot straight up like a rocket.
Yeah. No, with
never seen it.
Well, they might have, and yet there was a lot of rejection, and they just pushed through it. They kind of just juggernauted through the rejection.
But that's adversity, right?
Yeah, and that's a good thing. You have to, and it builds character. One of my favorite quotes is, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. What you see on the outside you don't know what's going on the inside. You don't know how many hours it took to get where they're at. You're just seeing the finished product or what it looks like right now. So don't compare what you're feeling on the inside to what other people are projecting on the outside.
Very, very true. Gary Vaynerchuk is actually a guy he actually preaches that now, but he was one that they said, oh, overnight success, that people were saying that about him. It's like, what? What? He did like 1,000 or 1,100, 1,200 episodes of Wine Library TV before really anyone even knew who he was.
Wow.
But he was every single day, for years, doing this show. It's like, that's the grind that people don't see. They just see you at the end when you're running a big deal and you do all that stuff, and like, oh, okay, I want to be like that. They didn't see all the grunt work. They didn't see all the work in the trenches.
And they just think he's a natural. Like, oh, he's a natural.
Got lucky. Yeah, his dad has money or whatever,
But they don't see all the investment in himself. I'm sure he got rejected thousands of times. Everyone successful gets rejected so many times, and that's just part of the journey.
Yeah, because that's okay. The idea that it's going to be so nice, neat, little gift wrapped present, here's success,
No.
you know, on Christmas morning. It doesn't work like that.
No, not at all. Never.
You have to go get it. All right, number 3.
Number 3, your schedule should reflect your goals. So in order to become successful, you want to have a good schedule in place. And it goes back to discipline. I'm realizing now saying this, they all go back to the first one. You know, your business or your success will grow to the extent that you do. And it starts with keeping yourself accountable and keeping your schedule to reflect your goals. So I always say, you know, you can tell a lot about a person by looking at their calendar. Just like you can tell a lot about a person based on looking at their bank statements, how much money they're spending on what. If you look at someone's bank statement, you see they're investing this amount in books, they're going to classes, they're going to this, you can see like, wow, this person's driven. Just like the same thing with your schedule on your calendar, you should schedule in what time you're waking up in the morning, when you're exercising, when you're reading, learning time, growth time. When you have a good calendar in place, your goals become a byproduct of your schedule. So if you want a big goal, in order to hit that, your schedule should reflect it. If you have a big goal and you look at someone's schedule and it's like, oh, there's nothing here, wake up at 12, movie with your friends at 4 o'clock, it's like, the schedule doesn't reflect the goal, so it's obviously not important. Your schedule should reflect what's important to you.
Wow, so your schedule should be aligned with your goals. Here's an interesting idea. Why not, if you're watching this right now, go look and look at your calendar and just try to look at it. And I'm not saying judge yourself, but look at it as though there was no name attached to it. Forget that it's your schedule. And just how would you expect a consultant that you hired to come in, look at that schedule, and what do you expect that they would tell you?
What would they tell you, and could they even tell what your goal is, or could they even tell that you have a goal?
Right.
You know, it's good to judge yourself and not judge yourself at the same time. It's because you need a place to start, and the first step is awareness. Like if you're just aware, like you're like, wow, I never thought about that. I look at my calendar and it shows nothing in here. There's nothing wrong with that. Make the decision now, go buy a calendar and start scheduling in the stuff that you're going to do to get closer to your goals.
Yeah, time blocking, I'll tell you that this one really resonates with me because it's something I've been big about for a very long time.
Oh yeah.
So I actually rewired my whole calendar. I call it my time block. I rewired my entire time block January 1st this year. Now in the middle of the year, I'm realizing that I need to make adjustments and that next year I'll be completely reworking it again. Because you're right, things, you know, based on what your goals are, you need to allocate time towards those things. So if you know what your goals are, then you have to extrapolate out, okay, how much time do I need to put in to reach that goal, to reach this goal, to reach this goal? And then you layer it into your time block. And now all of a sudden those activities are happening. And that goes back to number 1. Now your habits, now your action is aligned with where you want to be, and where you're trying to go.
I mean, I can even argue if we look at like a top businessman or a successful person, when you look at their calendar, I guarantee you all of them have very amazing calendars and time blocked like to the minute. You know, like I can't even imagine a successful person without a calendar that doesn't reflect their success. You know,
look at the president of the United States, okay? And I'm not talking about this president, any president.
Yeah.
Their time block is broken down by like 5-minute increments. So like my calendar gets broken down to like 30-minute increments. That's about as tight as I get.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there'll be, you know, a 15-minute phone call that gets scheduled somewhere in there, but for the most part, it's half-hour blocks.
Yeah.
Sometimes an hour if it's lunch or something or a long meeting. But like the president, they're breaking their time block down to like 5 minutes, sometimes even less. Like in that 5 minutes, there's 3 things that have to be done, but it's just all written down in 5 minutes. Like if you look at the president's calendar, that's some crazy stuff.
And you know what's the cool thing too about what you just said? Have you ever noticed the president's there, and whenever something has to happen, somebody comes up to them, taps them on the shoulder, and tells them this is next. So that's like their accountability person. That's the person that holds them accountable to the calendar. Hey, you can only talk for 5 more minutes here. Thank you. So it's like, accountability is a huge thing. I mean, I didn't have that as one of my principles, but you have to have an accountability partner to hold you accountable to those goals. And that's what the president has. Somebody telling him, hey, 20 minutes, you're having lunch with this person. It can only be 15 minutes, so be aware of that. So someone to hold them accountable to
What do you think is the best way to hold yourself accountable? I mean, if you, because I mean, you can have accountability partners, but let's say, I think that can be risky because sometimes that partner may not do a good job. Now you're relying on them, you know, to do something for you. So like, what's a good way to hold yourself accountable? I know a lot of people are like, post their goals, you know, on social media, or they're just really out loud about it. And that's what I've always done. And it was starting even this TV show, for example, I just started telling people we're doing a TV show. We're doing a TV show. I'm going to do a TV show. I'm going to do I just started telling everyone.
Yeah.
So before you knew it, people started asking me, when are you going to do a TV show? When's the TV show start?
Accountability.
You know? Yeah, it's like natural built in. So like, Do you have any advice for that? Or
Yeah, so I mean, I'm very old school, even though I'm a young millennial. Everyone thinks like, oh, this guy's gonna be super techie. To be honest, I'm more old school. I like the hard copy stuff. So transitioning to my electronic calendar was huge for not only me, but the team, because we had to all be on the same page in terms of scheduling. So now I use my electronic calendar. It's amazing. I use my iPhone, and it tells me, you know, alarms when things are gonna happen. So it gives me a 5-minute alarm, lead generation from 9 to 12, starting in 5 minutes. And you can't look at it and just say dismiss. You literally have to do what the calendar says. It's kind of like when you're in school and lunch and the bell rings and you know there's 5 minutes to get to the next class. You can't argue with the bell and be like, oh, I gotta use the bathroom, I'll be there 5 minutes late. No, you just go and you just do it. So create your time block down to, 15-minute increments, 30-minute increments, whatever you can, and stick to it no matter what. After you've done it long enough, for a week, it will start happening, it'll become natural, and it'll just become second nature.
Yeah.
It's because you have to develop that muscle. You have to develop the habits as someone who's succeeding at a high level, and they're all doing that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think calendaring is something, it's surprisingly, to this day and age, people are still not very good at it. I mean, you notice that if you book a lot of meetings with people, like I do, there's still a lot of people who just aren't very good at it. Even though invites go out and all this stuff, it's something that people are struggling with.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people's excuse is, well, I don't know what's going to happen in my day, so I don't want to block in too many things because I might get phone calls from people. I mean, especially in real estate, right? Hey, the phone might ring off the hook. I might have an inspection happening here, and this and this and this and that. People might be calling me. I might have leads coming in. And that's one of the things that's hard for people to wrap their head around is, well, how do I block out? How do I time block my whole day and then also still be available for all the ancillary, miscellaneous, random stuff?
Yeah, so you got to schedule, so you even have to schedule for emergencies. So in my calendar, I have a schedule in case for emergencies. So from 9 to 12, I'm making my calls like no matter what. If people call in or email, I have a time that I'm scheduled that you call them back. And you just handle the problems as they come in, but you have to schedule for it. You have to make sure that the most important thing in your day is always done first, so you can knock that out. And sometimes the rest of the day is problem solving and putting out fires, but schedule that into your calendar.
Gotcha. So have reply time, basically.
Yeah, have reply time. And it's cool we're talking about the calendar because that breaks it down to like a very simple and like day-to-day, hour by hour. But if you have like a long-term goal, whether it's opening a restaurant or opening your own store, you know, that's like a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal. And then you break it down to its simplest form, which is your calendar and hourly. So let's say your 5-year goal is to open a restaurant. We'll break it down to, in 1 year, what has to happen in 1 year in order for you to open a restaurant in 5 years? In 1 year, I have to be a manager of somebody else's restaurant. Okay, cool. What's it going to take to be the manager of someone else's restaurant? What do you have to do each month to make that happen? Okay, so each month I'm going to read this book or mentor this person who's a manager. Then what's going to happen week by week? So the 12 months breaks down into week by week per each month. What do you have to do weekly? Then what do you have to do daily? And then you break it down to the calendar into like the smallest minutes possible.
And when you start doing it like that, you realize there's plenty of time.
Oh, there's plenty of time.
Plenty of time to do whatever it is and achieve whatever it is that you want.
Yeah, so I have huge goals in my business, and I've broken it down, and all that takes is 20 contacts a day. I just have to talk to 20 new people every day, ask them who do they know that's going to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate. If I talk to 20 people a day, then I hit my goal, because I broke it down from a year already down to my daily goal, basically.
Gotcha. Wow, that seems so simple when you say it out loud like that. But that's really a tremendous amount of work you've culminated into backing into the number, essentially, figuring out the metrics of everything, and then go, okay, well, if I back that all the way down to just, this is all I have to do. You've now made it simple on yourself, and it's also, you can hold yourself accountable to that number. Yeah. Whereas if you say, oh, well, I need to be on the phone, I'm going to call for 2 hours today, that's very
It's not measurable.
It's loose.
Yeah, it's not measurable, and then even if you wanted to break it down, 20 contacts a day, let's say I only have 2 hours a day to make my calls. That's fine. I just have to make 10 contacts 1 hour, and 10 contacts another hour. And when you break it down so simple, it's like, wow, and if you break it down, that's like 3 contacts every 15 minutes. So it's like for 2 hours, dedicated in a day, I just have to talk to 3 people every 15 minutes. And I can create a big business and hit my goals for the year. So just gotta break it down.
It's tremendous stuff, man. Really appreciate you sharing it and coming on today. It's
Thank you.
Really terrific stuff, and a terrific jacket.
Yeah. Polka dots.
Anthony Manzon, top 30, under 30 in real estate. Thank you for tuning in. Share this post if you like it, if you think it'll help other people be smarter than everyone else.